The story unfolds 100 years from now when virtual reality games have evolved into worlds where players live inside the game itself. The legendary game XG reigns supreme, boasting expansive maps and the freedom to explore endlessly. But after 12 years, the game nears its final chapter. The heroes march toward the Demon King's lair, only to face crushing defeat. Yet, this Demon King is no mere villain, he's a player himself. His guild, once bustling, has dwindled as members left for their real lives busy with work and responsibilities. The Demon King, the guild leader, remained steadfast, unwilling to abandon his realm. Today marks the game's last day, and he's the last soul standing. Clutching the guild's emblematic staff, he won't let the legacy fade away. He holds no bitterness toward those who left after all they lived, real struggles beyond the screen. Leading his loyal but few servants, including his butler, ex-Baz and maids, he takes one last tour of the tomb. When he reaches the throne room, he encounters Abed, the game's strongest NPC and leader of the Guardians. He scans Abed's settings and decides to rewrite her core, embedding a deep love for him into her code. As memories of fallen comrades flood back, he resolves to wait out the final moments before logging off. But hours pass, and he remains trapped inside. The system has vanished, and his player rights are gone. Abed has transformed her AI, now breathes with a lifelike consciousness. He can't reach the game admins for help. Ordering his butler, Seabase, to patrol the tomb, and his maids to guard each floor, he notices the NPCs respond with genuine autonomy, no longer following preset scripts. Curious, he calls Abed closer to test her. She smells real. He dares to hold her hand, then feels the shock of flesh and bone. This isn't a game anymore. Ashamed, he apologizes to Abed and entrusts her to gather all the Guardians, except Sobo and Salter, to the arena for a trial of loyalty. Teleporting there, he finds magical items still functional. The Guardian's allegiance is his only question now. The arena is overseen by twin elf guardians Sky and Aura. Aura, the eldest sister and self-proclaimed supreme ruler, here commands respect. Aura summons her brother Maddie to greet their sovereign. Despite appearances, Aura is female and Maddie male. Both are stunned to see the hero arrive bearing the guild's legendary staff, a treasure forged from the world's strongest stones, a relic of unparalleled power. He stands firm, waiting for Abed to call the others, preparing to test his magic. He conjures a fire demon, sending it against the twins, who easily dispatch the fiery beast, proving their strength. Then, using magic communication, he contacts Xas, who senses something deeply wrong. He summons him for a briefing. With the twins victorious and rewarded with water, they begin to see their leader as formidable, though he appears calm and collected. The guardian of the third floor, Satya, arrives next, and the hero notes their unwavering loyalty. Determined to become a true leader, he chooses to stay here, embracing this newfound world rather than returning to his dull reality. Watching Satya's vigilance in this strange realm, he feels the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders, ready to face whatever comes next. And the way Aura argued was just like how the two masters had created these two girls to argue back then. Citus, the fifth floor guardian, arrived to stop the quarrel. Both in personality and appearance, Citus was a true warrior. Meanwhile, Demi, the fourth floor guardian, was a demon engineered with sharp intellect to command other NPCs in defense. Once everyone had gathered, he sent X-Bass to report the situation at the tomb. X-Base informed them that instead of being in the swamp as before, the tomb was now located in the middle of the meadow, surrounded by no creatures or houses. He ordered Abed and Demi to set up communications and defenses, while Marde was tasked with camouflaging the tomb. Then he asked everyone how they saw him. Everyone regarded him as a generous, strong, talented, and sharp master who never abandoned his subordinates. He asked them to continue serving him, and left amazed that they truly admired him. All the Guardians saw him as incredible for staying with them to the end. Sabas later sought him out, being his personal butler. Abo wanted Sabas to call her if the master gave any orders. After seeing him demonstrate authority, and as his self-proclaimed wife Abed stepped up for a duel with Sati K. Demi left Aura behind to handle women's matters, while Demi still hoped one of the two girls would carry the master's bloodline. Demi feared the day he might abandon them like others, so they needed a master to serve. Citus, thinking of the possibility of serving the master's child, was very delighted. The two girls eventually stopped their quarrel, because a master must have more than one wife, but who would be the main wife was to be decided later. For now, the plan had to begin. He returned to his room and felt strange changes within himself. His desires when with Arbo were suddenly suppressed. He no longer felt hunger or fatigue. Physical desires were manageable during the act, but suppressed when thinking about it. He tried to use his sword but failed. However, when wearing warrior armor, he could wield it. He wanted to go out, but Nabi, his maid, wanted to accompany him, which he refused. He just planned to enjoy some fresh air, but soon was discovered by Demi's 3 demon generals, who still recognized him in the armor. Demi insisted someone accompany him for safety, so he reluctantly let him tag along. Using a flying necklace, he soared into the sky, feeling thrilled by the vastness above, and even considered trying to conquer this world. He saw Made camouflaging the tomb, so he went down to check on him, praising Made and gifting him a ring to aid movement within the tomb. Made promised greater devotion to deserve it. Made wondered why he wore armor. Abed entered and guessed it was to avoid affecting his ranking. Seeing Abed seem jealous of Made's ring, he gave her one too, then left. Now, he could meet the people of this world. He met Sword King Gasp, a man from Renault country. When they arrived at a village under attack, Gasp ordered his men to rescue refugees to the capital. His subordinates worried their army might not be enough if their enemy was the rival nation Baharus. Gasp suspected a trap and insisted they return to the capital immediately, believing a few villagers weren't worth the sacrifice, despite being the kingdom's strongest swordsmen. Yet having risen from commoners, they understood the people's hardships. Meanwhile, the protagonist was using a mirror to observe the world and noticed a village being attacked. The attackers appeared more like soldiers than bandits. He felt uneasy within himself because before he would have felt disturbed seeing such a scene, but now he was completely calm. He planned to ignore it until he saw Ex-Bass and remembered his master, the one who helped and supported him when he first entered the game, giving him everything he had today. He ordered Sebas to equip Abo and follow him to rescue that village. He wanted to repay the debt to Ex-Bass's master, whose motto was to help those in trouble. Using his staff, he saved 2 sisters in danger. He tried a heart-crushing spell on a soldier, killing him instantly, and zapped another with lightning. Then he raised a zombie knight from the fallen soldier and ordered it to handle the rest. The armoured soldiers were no match, but Abo arrived soon and he gave healing potion to the elder sister. Both sisters still feared him, so Abo wanted to execute them, but he stopped her, explaining the potion was restorative. As a mage, he conjured a shield to protect the sisters and gave them a summoning whistle to call for help if needed. When asked his name, he declared himself Idugo. The zombie knights continued slaughtering the village soldiers mercilessly. They recognized the knight was playing with them. The captain ordered his men to shield him and flee, but he was targeted next. The zombie knights kept killing until Idugo arrived and commanded them to stop. Wearing a mask, he ordered the soldiers to return and report to superiors, warning that if they caused more chaos, he would bring death upon them. They fled, and he announced to the villagers that he came to save them, but expected a reward. The villagers, now trusting him, agreed. He decided to deal with the 2 sisters because they had seen his skeletal face. He went to the village chief's house to gather information as his reward. He didn't want riches, but knowledge to better understand this world. He learned that his tomb and this village lay within the kingdom's borders, often contested fiercely by the Empire. This territory was a plain between the capital and the Empire's southern lands close to the Magic Country. The armoured soldiers earlier bore Empire insignia, but might be pawns of the Magic Country to escalate tensions between the kingdom and Empire. As a mage, he conjured a protective shield around the 2 sisters and handed them summoning horns for their own defence. When the older sister asked his name, he boldly declared himself Idugo the Undead Knight. Meanwhile, the undead knights were mercilessly slaughtering the village soldiers. These were not ordinary troops. They lacked ranks and were fierce undead knights. They recognized that Idugo was toying with them, seeing his strength as a mere game. The captain ordered his soldiers to act as a shield while he fled, but he was the next target of the knights. Idugo continued his relentless massacre. The slaughter went on until Idugo finally arrived and commanded a halt. Donning a mask, he ordered the remaining soldiers to retreat and report to their superiors, warning them that any further chaos would bring death upon them. The troops fled, leaving Idugo to inform the villagers that he had come to save them, though he expected a reward. When the villagers agreed, their suspicion towards him faded. Yet Idugo decided he had to deal with the two sisters who had seen his skeletal face. He then visited the village chief's home to gather information, as his reward not in riches, but insight to better understand this world. First, he learned that his tomb and the village lay within the kingdom's territory, a land frequently torn by conflicts and disputes with the empire. This village sat in the border plains between the kingdom's capital and the empire. To the south of these two nations lay the Mage Nation. Judging by the armor, those earlier soldiers belonged to the empire, but it was possible the Mage Nation orchestrated this to heighten tensions between the kingdom and the empire. Idugo then discovered a nearby city, housing an adventurers' guild where he could gather more intelligence. Later, the villagers tended to their dead with burial rites. Although Idugo possessed the power to resurrect the fallen, he wished to avoid trouble by exercising restraint. That evening, he observed the village gradually recovering. He noticed Abo seemed uneasy around humans, but wanted her to practice some acting skills. Sensing something off with the village chief, he approached him. The chief revealed that a troop was marching toward them. Idugo instructed the villagers to hide while he and the chief would confront the approaching force. The approaching troop belonged to Gazb, captain of the royal guard, who had come to deal with the Empire's soldiers. But Idugo had already handled that threat, prompting Gazb to express his gratitude. Suddenly, soldiers reported an enemy, approaching a mage leading them disguised as Empire soldiers to infiltrate and attack the village. This mage's mission was to eliminate Gazb, and he had been granted a powerful relic by his superiors before the assault. Soon enough, the mages surrounded the village, and Gazb realized he was their true target. Not wanting the village to suffer, Gazb resolved to face the mages alone. He pleaded with Idugo to stay behind and protect the village, a request that deeply moved him. Idugo agreed, and presented Gazb with a gift to help him face the incoming mages. With a farewell, Gazb marched out with his soldiers to confront the enemy. As a close combat fighter, Gazb faced a daunting challenge against the long-range mages. The battle was fierce, testing Gazb's resolve against foes wielding magic from afar. Meanwhile, Idugo prepared to defend the village, standing as a silent guardian in the brewing storm. He begged Aeon to stay behind and defend the village. Moved by his plea, Aeon agreed. Before Gaz charged into battle, Aeon gave him a gift, an emblem to counter the invading mages. With a heavy heart, Gaz bid farewell and led his soldiers straight to the enemy. As a close combat fighter, he struggled against the ranged magic users. The mages even controlled angelic robots to overwhelm him. To vanquish these monsters, Gaz unleashed his martial arts, vaporizing the first wave. Then, executing a spinning slash with accelerated speed, he cut down the next. But when the enemy commander appeared, he summoned even more angels using the relic. After a fierce fight, Gaz was exhausted. All his men lay defeated. The relentless angels swarmed Gaz until he could barely stand. Yet fueled by courage, he rose to fight with his last ounce of strength. The commander, confident, declared Gaz would soon be nothing but a memory, and the village would be razed. But just then, Aeon used his magic to swap places with Gaz, bringing him safely back to the village. There, Gaz realized the gift Aeon gave him was the source of his newfound magic. Aeon boldly greeted the enemy commander and his minions. Expecting mercy, the commander sneered, mocking the supreme being. Sensing the commander wanted to quit, Aeon decided to grant his wish. The commander sent angels to attack, but they caused no harm. Aeon's skeletal form was immune to physical strikes. After defeating 2 angels, Aeon discovered they were just game monsters. With a single spell, he wiped out all the angels in an instant. The mages, terrified by his power, poured all their might into stopping him. But their spells were the weakest in the game, unable to touch Aeon. Frustrated, the commander summoned a high-level angel to challenge him. With a single hellfire blast, Aeon incinerated the angel without a trace. The commander, now trembling, unleashed his final trump card. Using a crystal, he summoned an ultimate angel, believing this terrifying force would finally break Aeon. Expecting a dirty attack, Aeon ordered Abo to cast a protective skill. But what he saw was disappointing, a mere toy. Abo was furious that such low-life villains dared disrespect the one she loved. To defeat this supreme angel, Aeon created a black hole, swallowing it whole with no trace left behind. Witnessing the supreme being's overwhelming power, the commander and his cohorts were filled with terror. The commander begged for mercy, but it was too late. After sending them off to sell salt gas, and Aeon returned to the tomb, it was then that Iado truly realized his master was something extraordinary. Looking sharp as ever, Aeon returned to his tomb and immediately summoned all the guardians. He declared that from this moment on, he would rename himself after his guild, a symbol of his vow to spread the guild's glory across the world. He wanted any trapped players to easily recognize his guild's mark. Abed reported that, according to investigations, no other players remained trapped here. The captured commander hadn't revealed anything further yet, so Aeon decided to venture outside himself to learn more about this world. After the briefing, Abed tried his usual charm on his lord, but Aeon reminded him that he had once altered her emotions, and Abed didn't care, only wanting to know when she'd share the bridal chamber with him. At that moment, Saria entered the room bidding farewell to her master to join a mission with the steward Zas. Seeing Aeon there, jealousy flared up in Saria and Abed, sparking another round of their love rivalry. But with their lord present, neither dared to raise their voices. Meanwhile, Aeon headed toward the Adventurers Guild in the city, accompanied by his maid Nabe. Since he had just re-registered the guild, his rank was only RNK. Seeing this, some seasoned adventurers started bullying the newcomers, unaware that they were facing the supreme ruler of this world. With a single throw, Aeon soared into the air and landed mouth first. But that throw accidentally shattered a nearby girl's mana potion. She immediately demanded compensation, as the potion was precious. Not wanting to draw attention, Aeon quietly reimbursed her with a vial of his own life force. Later, they rented a room to rest. Nabe expressed her disdain for the lowly humans, much like Abed's earlier scorn. But since her lord wished to hide his identity, Nabe obeyed and spared them. Aeon explained that their goal was to gather information about this world, and to do so they must rise through the adventurer ranks, from RNK to the highest level. However, their funds were depleted, forcing them to seek work. It was absurd a mighty lord, with treasures in his tomb, now scrounging for coins because their money held no value here. Meanwhile, the adventurer girl who had lost her potion sought appraisal from an elder. After inspection, the old woman revealed that the life vial was made from divine blood, a legendary rarity. Such a treasure would surely invite danger, so she offered to buy it for safekeeping. Aeon then went to the guild to accept a monster hunting quest. Though only RNKK rank, he chose the highest level mission to size up the monsters. The receptionist refused to assign it due to his rank, so he asked her to pick a task suitable for him. At that moment, a group invited him to join their mission. The team leader Peter introduced each member. Through Peter's words, Aeon learned many. He possessed unique magical talents, especially a youth named Nesia, who was the granddaughter of the elder who appraised the vial. Nesia's gift allowed her to wield any magical artifact with ease. Hearing this, both Nabe and Aeon were eager to meet her. Peter explained their mission to exterminate the monsters surrounding the city. Their numbers were overwhelming, so they sought Aeon's group's help. Aeon agreed, and everyone prepared to depart. Then a young man named V asked about Aeon and Nabe's relationship. When Aeon said they were just comrades, V immediately knelt and proposed to Nabe, enchanted by her beauty. Nabe retorted coldly that he should know his place or she'd cut out his tongue. Her icy glare only fueled V's excitement. Later at the guild hall, Aeon received a private quest assigned by Nia. Seeing this, Nabe immediately stepped up to protect their lord, prompting Aeon to lightly knock her to calm down. Then, the group ascended to hear Nia's request to escort her to a village for herb gathering. Inside the city, a thief girl met with a mage flaunting a stolen necklace. She revealed it was a powerful relic that only gifted souls like Nesia could wield. Meanwhile, Aeon's group set off early the next morning. After half a day's journey, they stopped to rest. Nesia warned that they were entering the territory of the Sage King Forest Beast, a creature both ancient and wise, capable of magic. Intrigued by its rumoured strength, Aeon wanted to see it for himself. Back at the tomb, Demi tried to clean Aeon's room, but found Abed doing something shady, cuddling a pillow bearing a skeleton's image, calling it his true love. Demi was speechless at her loyalty. Meanwhile, Aeon and his adventurer group pressed onward toward the village, but were stopped by a horde of monsters. Aeon called on the adventurers behind him for support, while he and Nabe teamed up to clear the weaker foes. Drawing his sword, Aeon swiftly felled the first beast. Witnessing his skill, the adventurers joked that Aon should be called an R-rank challenger, not just a comrade. With a few precise strikes, all the monsters lay defeated, forcing the rest to flee. Then, Nabe unleashed her lightning magic, ensuring none escaped. Idigo teamed up with Nab to sweep through the horde of pesky monsters. Grasping his sword, he swiftly felled the first beast. The adventurers watching were stunned. This was no mere ally, but a challenger in their eyes. With just a few precise strikes, each monster crashed to the ground, unable to withstand his might. Witnessing such power, the monsters fled in terror, their defeat a testament to Idigo's overwhelming strength. But when it was Nabi's turn to unleash her lightning magic, was there any foe who could escape her storm? After utterly annihilating the horde, the adventurer group tended to their wounds, sealing their victory by collecting the ears of their fallen enemies as proof of mission completion. They admired Nabi deeply for her raw power and natural leadership, but she humbly replied that one day they too would rise just as strong. As evening fell, the whole crew gathered around for dinner, though Nabi's skeletal frame meant she had no need for food. Among the adventurers, a young boy eagerly wanted to crown her with the title Black Swordsman to spread her fame far and wide. Yet she declined, declaring that honour belonged to another youth who wielded twin swords. Laughter and warm conversation filled the air, but seeing their camaraderie sparked bittersweet memories of her old comrades once 41 strong. Now only she remained in this world. Within the city's shadows, a rogue thief girl scoured for Nesia relentlessly, showing no hesitation in silencing anyone who dared with dark sorcery, turning them into puppets bound to her will. Meanwhile, the sorcerer, no less sinister, performed forbidden rites to raise the dead, aiming to transform the nation's people into an army of undead. Gathering lethal power to achieve immortality, yet these two villains barely trusted each other. A few barbed words nearly sparked a deadly clash. The following dawn saw Agon's party pressing forward, driven by grim resolve. The key to their discovery lay in the adventurer badges stolen from victims' silent witnesses that betrayed the thief's hideout. Delivering the corrupt sorcerer and his disciples to Nabi, Agon summoned the thief aside for a confrontation. At the sight of their master, Nabi unleashed a devastating lightning strike that wiped out the cultists in a heartbeat. She noticed the sorcerer feigning death among his followers, perhaps to survive longer, but now she vowed to deliver the most excruciating end. Confident that no real threat looms nearby, they loosen their formation, only to be met by a shadowy dragon atop the icy mountain. Curious Aon asked the mage to investigate this fearsome beast upon returning to the city. Dragons, once the mightiest creatures in the old game, represent an ominous unknown here, and Aon knows he must be vigilant. Upon reaching the village, Bale senses something off. The once unguarded settlement now boasts sturdy walls. Inside, the goblins spot the newcomers and send word to their leader. The goblins take position ready for battle, but they're no fools. They prefer to avoid bloodshed, sizing up their foes to discern who truly poses danger. Suddenly, the woman Aon saved before appears Engie, a familiar face. Nesia recognizes her, immediately confirming these goblins hail from the same clan. Engie, once mentioned by Nesia, reveals the village's hidden stories. Nesia listens, ready to comfort her, but Engie's fierce resolve shines through a determination to protect her little sister. Though Nesia harbours feelings for her fear, keeps his words locked away, leaving their bond stuck in the friend zone. Enge shares tales of Aon and longs to meet him again, stirring a spark in Nesia, who realizes that the Aon she speaks of must be a high-level mage wielding magic of the 5th rank or higher. She also mentions a girl clad in black armour named Abed, and Nesia's heart skips. He knows that Abed is the swordswoman who fights alongside Aon, his beloved. Fear creeps into Nesia's mind at the thought of approaching such a formidable figure to investigate the mysterious potion. Aon, meanwhile, is stunned. Just 10 days ago, these villagers had never touched a weapon, yet now they train fiercely to prevent another tragedy. Suddenly, Nesia rushes forward, claiming to have uncovered Aon's true identity. Aon simply thanks him for saving the village, and vows to keep this secret safe. Nesia wants to ask Aon something, but Aon steps back, and Nesia reveals the real reason for approaching him, the secret of the potion. Reflecting on his earlier mistake of using the rare elixir to solve problems, Nesia wishes to learn its recipe for understanding. Aeon asks how many know his true identity. Only Nesia does, so he insists Nesia remember he is for now just a normal adventurer named Momon. To distinguish between his two personas, they use whichever name fits the moment. With that, Nesia returns home and Nab apologizes to Momon for accidentally revealing Abed's name, which risked exposing him. Nab offers his life in apology, but Momon halts him. Soon after, they head into the forest, hunting the mysterious creature called the Sage King of the Green Woods. Momon and Nab will patrol together, bracing for the trials ahead. Beforehand, Nia wished that if they ever encountered the Sage King, they should drive him away, not kill him, because the Sage King was needed alive to protect the village from other hostile creatures. Just as they entered the forest, the two met Aura, the young girl, who had come to help them find the Sage King. Momo had no choice but to entrust Aura with the search. Aura then ran off, accompanied by two beasts she had raised. Together, the three arrived at the Sage King's lair. Aura darted inside, provoking the creature before fleeing back to Momo's side. The group heard the commotion and readied themselves for action. Momo instructed everyone to leave the forest so he could confront the Sage King alone, while Nia hoped he wouldn't escalate things too far. Then, the Sage King lunged, striking at Momo with its tail. Momo admired the fact he managed to block the attack and challenged the creature to show itself instead of hiding. The Sage King accepted the challenge and revealed itself. To Momo's surprise, it was a hamster. Seeing that Momo knew about its species, it wanted him to teach it how to maintain its voice. But creatures its size normally couldn't fight, so the Sage King resorted to evasive tactics. Now it desired to battle seriously. Momo, frustrated by his expectations for this Sage King, unleashed a desperate first-level spell that scared the hamster into begging for mercy. Aura asked Momo if he wanted to keep the hamster or else she would take it. Momo decided to take it outside and declared he would be the master of this tame Sage King. Everyone praised the hamster's strength, but Momo saw it as a disgrace compared to the compliments. Nia requested to join Momo's team to gain power and protect the village and Enge, but Momo refused. Still, he promised to provide strength and support Nia in defending the village. That night, the group returned to the city. Everyone went to deliver goods to Nia's home, while Momo and Nab headed to the guild to register the hamster mount. Riding the hamster drew curious looks, making Momo unbearably embarrassed. He also needed to name the creature. Meanwhile, Nia and the others, upon arriving home, unexpectedly encountered the notorious thief. She declared she was there to capture Nia, needing his ability to wield all magical items to create an undead army. The others stepped forward to protect Nia. The thief demanded Nia use the Crown of Wisdom to summon this undead legion, a level 7 spell beyond ordinary ability. Suddenly, a mage appeared behind her, urging haste, but the thief wanted to play a little longer. At that moment, Momo registered the hamster. Unexpectedly, Nia's grandmother approached Momo, trying to get close and inviting him to her home to meet Nia, also offering payment for escorting her to the village. Upon returning home, Momo sensed something was wrong and drew his sword, descending into the cellar for herbs. There he found members of Peter's group slain and turned into undead. He struck them down to free their souls, noticing the youngest and most innocent had died before fulfilling their wish. He asked the grandmother if she had seen Nia, but no one had. Examining the scene, it was clear the culprit was fearless. Confident they wouldn't be caught even if the bodies were discovered, Momo vowed to make the perpetrator pay. He asked the grandmother to hire him to bring her grandchild back, as he was now the strongest in the city and the only one capable of this. She trusted Momo and agreed, willing to pay everything she had, since Nia was her most precious treasure. Momo and Nab then used numerous tracking scrolls to locate Nia, discovering him at a graveyard surrounded by an undead army, and the murderer of Peter's group was there too. Momo informed Nia's grandmother so she could alert the guild and arrange evacuation in case of danger. Soldiers on the city walls spotted the rising undead horde and tried to hold them off, awaiting reinforcements. But the undead surged over the walls. Momo arrived to help, yet the soldiers mistook him for a low rank and dismissed him as a mere recruit. Together with Nab and the hamster, Momo charged through the walls to confront the threat inside. After some struggle, the undead were defeated, and the birth of a legend was witnessed. As Momo pushed through the bones, Nab and the hamster stayed aloft, since the undead were sensitive to life energy. Momo being on the ground was enough. Nab questioned why he didn't call more reinforcements, but Momo wanted to keep this quiet to avoid others demanding to join. He also wanted Nab to think independently, instead of asking him everything. Then, Momo summoned 2 demons to speed their advance toward the mage. The hamster was left behind in a tree. Momo explained he was just an adventurer on a mission to find a boy he also knew. He wanted the thief to show herself, knowing hiding was useless. Momo confronted her, revealing he found her through adventurer IDs she stole from victims, which exposed her location. He handed the mage and his cultists over to Nab and challenged the thief to a duel. Nab unleashed lightning magic, swiftly killing the cultists. She noticed the mage feigning death among them. He might have survived, but she intended to deliver a painful end. Momo and the thief faced off. She accused him of being an ally to those she killed at the shop, but he saw them as stepping stones to fame. Since she obstructed him, he wouldn't spare her. The thief claimed she wouldn't lose, boasting she was only weaker than 4 people in the country, one being Gazp. Momo arrogantly claimed she couldn't make him fight seriously, as Nab could easily handle her. Meanwhile, Nab battled the mage who, thinking she was a sorceress, summoned a skeletal dragon. Its magic resistance was so high that Nab couldn't draw her sword from its sheath, but still managed to strike its head, knocking it unconscious. The mage, unaware of Nab's power, grew angry and revived the dragon, adding buffs. Nab enhanced herself with similar buffs and clashed fiercely. She dodged an attack but was pushed back. The mage fired acid, but Nab shielded herself and counterattacked. The dragon protected its master, who then summoned another dragon, using all his strength to overwhelm her, planning to gather soul energy from the city once she vanished. Nab charged again but was trampled. Still, she pushed the dragon away. The reason you found it was because of the pile of adventurer cards she took from victims who revealed her location. You handed over the sorcerer and his cult followers to Nabi, then called that woman aside for the death duel. As soon as Nabi saw her master, she unleashed a storm of lightning magic, wiping out all the cultists. The sorcerer faked death alongside them, hoping to survive, but now Nabi intends to give him the most painful end. Mum and that woman stepped aside, and she accused you of being an ally to those you killed at the shop. But you saw them as stepping stones to boost your reputation, and since she blocked your plans, you won't spare her. She believes she won't lose. After all, in this land, she's only ever been bested by 4 people, one of whom is Gasp. Arrogantly, she thinks she can never make you take her seriously in battle. Nabi still locked in combat. With the sorcerer knew he expected a mage, so he summoned a bone dragon. Its magic resistance was sky high. She drew her sword but couldn't even unsheath it before charging and striking the dragon's head, knocking it unconscious. The sorcerer didn't realize her true power, but she believed she was no weakling like those inferior humans. Furious, the sorcerer revived the dragon and blessed it with more enchantments. Nabi empowered herself with buffs to face the onslaught. She dodged attacks but was pushed back by the relentless dragon. When the sorcerer unleashed acid, she shielded herself and retaliated, but the dragon protected him. He summoned yet another dragon with all his might to finish her off, planning to harvest the city's life energy to heal after she vanished. Nabi charged again but was trampled by the dragon. Still, she managed to push it off. Meanwhile, that woman was dodging strikes from Gasp, mocking you for lacking sword skills. Provoked by your taunts, she shrugged off her cloak and retaliated. Her speed was lightning fast as she aimed for your shoulder, but it was well armoured. She vowed next time to strike where it's thinner. Suddenly she lunged again, and you swung your sword. She deftly dodged a few blows. This battle gave Mum his first real taste of high-level swordsmanship, a valuable lesson you could learn from. But time was running out. You told Nabi to show the might of a Langtum member, then unleashed your full power against her. Nabi, feeling belittled by the sorcerer's insults, heard Mum's encouragement and decided to fight seriously. She teleported into the air and used flight magic to hover above. Determined to prove the strength of Langtum's warriors, she teleported behind the sorcerer and stabbed him. But it was just a demonstration. She wanted him to see how easily she could kill him if she wished. Then she unleashed thunder magic, revealing that his dragons only resisted spells below level 6. She summoned a level 7 thunder dragon, obliterating both bone dragons and striking the sorcerer, reducing him to dust. Mum knew Nabi would finish quickly and told that woman she found it laughable. How could he dare act tough when he couldn't even wield basic weapons? She powered up her body and rushed him, but he did nothing. She poked her sword at his face, pulled out pulled out another and ignited it with fire magic, but he remained untouched. Then, he grabbed her tightly, transforming into his Aegis form, making her understand why he said he didn't need to take her seriously. Because no matter what she did, he simply couldn't die. Blades and magic were futile against him. He squeezed her until her bones threatened to break and her struggles were meaningless. As he moved to choke her with his other hand, everything ended. He returned to the army with Nabe, and the little one rushed over. He ordered Nabe to pack up the defeated enemy's belongings, but leave their bodies for the guild to handle. Then he went to find Nessia, who was injured in her eye and mentally shaken. Looking over the crown, he confirmed its true value, and that it could return Nessia to the Tomb Clan for treatment. But since he'd already accepted a mission, he shattered the crown and took Nessia away. The three then returned victorious, and Momon was promoted to platinum rank. Nabe asked about the two ladies' fate. He decided to send them to the village of Enge, intending to turn it into a supply and medicine crafting hub for the Tomb Clan. Then he called Abed, only to hear news that Satya had betrayed them. Flashing back to Luagon happily living as Momon the butler, Zah and a maid approached a nobleman at a restaurant set up to lure him for Satya's plan. The maid asked Abed for permission to handle the nobleman, while others were left to Satya. On the horse carriage, the three searched for clues about the martial arts their master was researching. Abed wondered why Satya and Aura hated each other so much. It was simple, the higher beings had programmed them that way. The carriage then stopped abruptly. They were ambushed by bandits, aiming to capture them, but Satya instantly eliminated one and sucked its blood. Growing bored, she delegated the rest to her younger sibling. Meanwhile, the blonde maid seduced the nobleman, who foolishly touched her and was swallowed without mercy. Satya's sibling revealed a nearby cave where someone matched Gasp's martial arts skill level. Satya had left early, letting them handle the cave. Inside, the one called Brain said to rival, Gasp sensed intruders. When his comrades reported only 2 women, he went to investigate and came face to face with Satya and her sibling. Her sibling charged but was struck by Brain's blade, forcing her to step aside so Satya could take over. Brain introduced himself. Satya Ever Graceful returned the favour and even gave him a proper warning before the fight. Brain unleashed a secret technique he had painstakingly honed over time. A shimmering barrier encircled him, ready to unleash a supersonic slash the moment any enemy stepped inside. Yet against Satya, it was useless. She caught Brain's sword with just one hand, thinking he wasn't serious. So she stepped forward, inviting him to really fight. Brain launched attack after attack, but Satya effortlessly blocked every strike with one hand. It dawned on Brain the gap between their powers was a chasm. Before him stood a monster, and his treasured martial skills were mere scraps to her. Overwhelmed and broken, he fled in tears. Sensing the moment to end it, Satya transformed into her demon form and began the hunt. But when the others saw Brain running, they soon crossed paths with Satya. She slaughtered those mercenaries with ruthless ease. Then, spotting Brain's escape through a narrow path, she followed him outside. There she charged at her prey relentlessly. When only the red-haired girl remained, Satya was hit by a mysterious smoke bomb. Recognizing it as her master's signature, she realized her master sought to establish contact. Through questioning, Satya learned that her master and the Adventurer Guild were tracking a mercenary faction that had gone rogue. Their forces had split up, likely already back in the capital. Determined not to let any escape, Satya dispatched her minions to pursue. Yet the minions were swiftly wiped out, so she herself gave chase in error that would soon cost her. As she charged forward, her enemies unleashed magic against her. Though she managed to take down 2 assailants, she suddenly paused. The next morning, Aeon and Abed noticed Satya's name had turned red, signalling betrayal. Aeon suspected an NPC brainwash reminiscent of some past game experience. Abed wanted to lead a team to handle Satya, but Aeon insisted on understanding her reasons. After all, their bonds mirrored his old comrades, and he needed the full truth. Hearing how deeply Aeon cared for them, including Satya, Abed was moved. So Aeon ordered a search for Satya's location, preparing to confront her himself. Aeon then used a divine-level item to pinpoint her position. Just then, Nabi called from the city, informing that the guild leader, Samkshul, had summoned Momon to the guild hall. Without hesitation, Aeon accepted, having intended to go anyway. Upon meeting the guild leader, Aeon was told the urgent reason for the gathering: a vampire was terrorizing a town, threatening to drain every drop of blood and leave no survivors. The moment Momon heard this, he recognized the vampire Satya. He immediately requested to handle the situation himself. But a cocky adventurer scoffed at Momon's abilities, doubting his strength since he had only completed a few quests at the highest rank. The arrogant fool demanded to join Momon, eager to witness his power firsthand. Momon warned him he'd die if he insisted, and sure enough, the fool found himself slammed against a tree, then mercilessly chased off by a demon goat. Classic case of ignoring warnings and paying the price. Curious about how his undead creations would evolve, Momon summoned high-grade undead soldiers to test their transformation. Then, accompanied by a bed, he headed towards Satya's location. But what they found was a hollow-eyed Satya clearly puppeteered by another. Recognizing the sinister grip, Aeon pulled out a ring called the Star of Hope, an artifact he had earned from a gacha spin capable of purifying control magic and restoring Satya's true self. Yet, when Aeon activated the ring, its magic was shockingly nullified. Danger hung thick in the air. Sensing a threat beyond his power, Aeon and Abed retreated. Furious and shaken, Aeon realized this was the first time someone had countered his magic, a foe wielding a world-class item, capable of breaking the ring's effect. Back at the tomb, Aeon ordered the defenses to be raised to their peak. The guards responded swiftly, ready to shield the sanctuary. Meanwhile, Aeon ventured into the guild's storage to retrieve more world-class artifacts. Abed remembered the guard there, Pandora, an NPC Aeon had personally crafted to protect the guild's treasure. Pandora had the uncanny ability to shapeshift into anyone, though his antics often left Aeon embarrassed and the girls speechless. Originally, Aeon had designed Pandora's uniform to look sleek and impressive. Now even the lord of the guild begged Pandora to stop embarrassing him. One mischievous mouse was already enough shame. Together, the trio delved deeper into the guild tomb, a solemn place to honor the 41 comrades who had fought alongside Aeon. Inside lay all the world-class relics they had gathered, vital for breaking Satya's control. Aeon sought a particular artifact, the 12 divine weapons. After gathering what was needed, he spoke with a heavy heart, saying that one day he too would have a statue placed in this tomb's corner. The thought crushed Abed, who burst into tears, fearing he would one day be abandoned like the others. But Aeon comforted her, vowing to triumph and bring Satya back to the tomb. Stepping outside, Aeon entrusted world-class items to Aura and Ma, warning them to be cautious. This enemy was formidable. Aeon assigned the guards to protect the tomb, then set off towards Satya's location. Meanwhile, inside the tomb, Demi fretted over their lord, scolding Abed for letting him fight alone despite having a ready army. Demi wished to join the battle, but was barred by Citus, under orders from the supreme deity. "You will win. You will defeat Satya and bring her back to Langtum." Then you returned outside the tomb, handing over some world-class items to Aura and Ma. Since this enemy was incredibly strong, you had to be extremely cautious. Igon immediately took charge of guarding the tomb's entrance, before setting off to confront Satya. Inside the tomb, Dem was deeply worried about his master, silently blaming himself. Why let the Lord fight alone when he commands an entire legion of tomb guardians, always ready to battle? Demi wanted to step out and join the Lord, but Citus stopped him. The supreme command was clear: the Lord must face Sar alone. So Demi had no choice but to stay back and watch through the sacred mirror. Though the Lord's chances seemed slim, the guardians placed their faith in his promise. Meanwhile, IG was on the way to Satya's location, struggling to believe that a mighty lord now had to move in silence like a coward to avoid enemy attention. If he caught the culprit behind all this, he vowed to punish him without mercy. After a while, IG finally reached Satya's side. She stood still, trapped in a state of mental control. Before awakening, Satya IG unleashed countless spells on himself, amplifying his strength and stats for a limited time. Then came a supercharged magic blast that swept across a vast area. Its true purpose was to awaken Satya. But Satya no longer recognized her lord. She laughed maniacally, thinking she was about to finish off Argon, for her mind was manipulated to attack her own master. IG challenged her coldly. "If you're brave, come swim at me." Failure was not a word in his dictionary. No sooner had he spoken than Satya charged forward only to step into a trap she had set. IG launched an energy orb attack, but Satya blocked it with an earthen barrier, seeing that he summoned his spinal prison spell, forcing Satya to dodge using flight. As a vampire, Satya possessed immense vitality and regenerative power. Moreover, her spear could drain life force from opponents to heal herself. Meanwhile, Ion, a powerful mage, wielded immense magical energy. After carefully recalculating their strategies, the duel resumed fiercely. Aeon relentlessly attacked Satya to prevent her from recovering, but she evaded and parried with skills Aeon hadn't yet encountered. Then summoning a spear of radiant light, she aimed it directly at her master. Aeon felt ribs shatter under the blow, overwhelmed by Satya's overwhelming power. He unleashed more skills fiercely. After a tense exchange, Satya began to take heavy damage. Desperate, she decided to target Aeon's weak point to finally bring him down. Her next strike carried a sacred attribute draining a massive amount of Aeon's life force. She knew sacred power was the bane of a skeleton warrior like him. But after that assault, Satya's magic nearly depleted, forcing her into close combat. Whether near or far, Aeon was ready to push Satya to her limits. It had been a long time since he fought with such passion. Satya charged, plunging her spear into his chest to siphon life. But Aeon deftly dodged and counterattacked, forcing Satya onto the defensive. Exhausted from the relentless battle, Satya revealed her trump card, summoning a clone to fight alongside her. The double lunged at Aeon, making evasion a struggle. To counter it, Aeon summoned a clock behind the clone, slowing time and easily dodging its attacks. When the moment came, he wiped the clone from existence in an instant. As the fight dragged on, Satya's disadvantage grew clearer. Sensing victory near Aeon, confessed he had only pretended to be wounded all along. His true goal was to lure out the mastermind controlling Satya. But this puppet master was clever, still hiding in the shadows. Now it was time to free Satya from the spell's grip. Doubting him, she attacked relentlessly, but her efforts were futile. Aeon wore the golden armor of his former benefactor, the Lord, who had once saved him and brought him into the guild. Then he unveiled powerful weapons gifted by old comrades. First, a sword capable of piercing Satya's formidable armor. Grasping it, he struck lightly at her arm. Next came even more devastating gear, overwhelming Satya's defenses. With her strength waning, she was forced to charge at him one last time, her energy nearly spent. Together, she and the girl relentlessly used blood-sucking wounds on his arm, draining him dry. Yet no matter how much blood they took, the Overlord remained unfazed. The gap in their power was simply too vast. Sensing the playful interlude had ended, he decided to end Satya's fate, then and there. With a surge of supreme magic, he unleashed a blast that shattered the land itself. But just as he was about to strike, Idu noticed the true puppeteer controlling Satya hiding behind her. She had barely escaped in time. Though Satya awakened, she was consumed in the explosion. Returning to the tomb, the Overlord and the Guardians performed the resurrection ritual for Satya. Yet the Guardians remained wary, fearing her betrayal might repeat. The Overlord assured them that, if it did, they'd have full authority to deal with her. The price to bring Satya back, a staggering 500 million gold. With just a single incantation, mountains of gold vanished into thin air. Satya was reborn, her form entirely renewed. Her guild name restored, Abo breathed easier, knowing the controlling magic had been lifted. Soon after, Satya awoke, bringing joy to Agon. Overwhelmed by the Overlord's care, Satya embraced him tightly, stirring a pang of envy in her bed. Curious, he asked Satya if anything unusual remained in her body. She panicked, realizing the most precious thing was gone, the breast implants. Everyone present was speechless, watching the Guardians laugh and bond. The scene brought back memories for Idu of old comrades long gone. Though the tomb was left behind, the Overlord no longer felt alone. The Guardians would walk with him on this path to conquer the world. This battle taught him much. He sensed a powerful enemy lurking, scheming to seize the tomb. Next on their target list might be the steward Zas, whom the Overlord had dispatched to investigate the city's depths. But when this foe reveals himself, the Overlord vowed to erase him from this world without hesitation. He then uncovered that the Dark Holy Scripture Society of France masterminded the manipulation of Satia. Though the mastermind remained unknown, their strength rivaled even the overlords. Meanwhile, Nia and her grandmother relocated to a village with Nab, assigned to escort and protect them. The steward Zas had arrived in the capital to investigate under the overlord's orders. Bryn the swordsman was still recovering from the psychological blow after Satia's assault and encountered Gazb. Momon returned to the Adventurers Guild and was officially promoted to the highest rank. Everyone praised him, declaring him the strongest among the strongest. With no missions left fitting for him, he decided to return to the inn and wait. Just as he stepped outside, new information arrived. He swiftly commanded several captains and even Citus to mobilize for the first assault of Overlord. Here ends part 1 of the Overlord's conquest. The journey of a Gon's Overlord is far from over. If you want to see more